transform today and do it again tomorrow. This is a podcast that helps anyone who wants to dig deeper into each day and they want to get unstuck. They want to take their life off autopilot. And you just want to have more fun by being your authentic self. You're in the right place if those things describe you. This is episode number 14. Put your purpose to action. Hey, my name is Rebecca Ryan. I am a professional writer and a certified life coach. I focus on overall wellness for everybody and creating balance and contentment in your life. When I talk to clients, one of the most common topics we stumble upon is always purpose. It always comes up in conversation. All of us can feel stuck or like we're not ourselves, right? When we feel like our life has no purpose. That's no way to be, right? And we're just kind of going through the motions. So I knew I had to do some episodes revolving around finding your purpose and then taking action on it, right? So it's nice to find your purpose, but you got to do something with that information. So that's what we're talking about today. And I hope you're going to share today's episode and last week's episode with someone who in your life has been saying, man, I feel really stuck lately. Share the episodes with them if they're saying, I have no idea what my purpose is. Or I feel like I have no idea who I am anymore. We've all heard someone say that, right? We've all said that ourselves, I'm sure. And the dirty little secret we don't admit is that we've all felt this way. We all do feel this way sometimes. So let people you know that they're not alone. Share these episodes with them. I want you to know you're not alone. We've all been there in some degree or another. So, in last week's episode, we talked about how to find your purpose simply by slowing down, right? That's the name of the game for anything related to coaching. Slow down. Observe your life a little more closely rather than just going through the motions, which is so easy to do, right? We get into these routines. We got to do this adulting thing. We get in these motions where we forget to stop and observe. And that really is what life coaching is. It's stepping off the conveyor belt of adulting and objectively looking at your life to uncover clues, evidence, and emotions that either maybe confirm you're on the right path or teach you that it's time to hold up, try something else, right? But you can't pinpoint these pain points unless you stop and observe and think about it. So that's what we're doing. So you can listen to the last episode. The last episode talks about 3 questions to help you uncover your purpose. But the general idea was to start noticing when you're happy throughout your week, right? Just kind of notice, hey, I like doing this. I feel like I'm in the zone when I'm doing that. And to kind of like figure out when you feel like you are your true self. And then you think about what you hope people will say about you at your funeral. Womp womp. But that there's a point to that. You want to kind of tap into like, what will they say about me? Does that make sense? Am I portraying who I want to portray? And then finally last week I said, ask yourself if there's something that really lights you up that you haven't shared enough with people yet. Something you're keeping to yourself that makes you happy or you're passionate about. In other words, is there kind of something behind the curtain that you've written off as silly or just stupid? Like, that's stupid. I don't want to talk about that. But you really care about it. So is there something you're hiding? So those 3 questions were the general focus of my last episode. So go back and listen to that if you haven't done that first step. It's really important you do that first step first before you dive into today's homework. But as you started to answer these questions last week, it doesn't mean it's just, we're done. It's a neat and tidy process. And we've zoomed in on your purpose. It's not that easy. But if you did the homework, it's going to give us a kind of a trail of, I call it trail of breadcrumbs to lead us to some answers. Okay. And remember, your purpose does not have to be this one big shining star that dictates your entire life. Your purpose, I think this is good news. It can be several things in life, and each day might be different, might pull from different buckets of your purpose. So take that pressure off yourself. It doesn't have to be one big, enormous, impressive thing. And some people, they're kind of lucky enough to know with 100% clarity, yep, I know what my purpose is. My purpose is to be a blank and fill in the blank with their profession, right? Or their calling or their volunteer work. It's like they've known their entire lives they were made to do this job or do this one big thing, like be a parent, be a doctor, be a lawyer, or be a teacher. They just feel it in their bones, like, I gotta do this thing, and they do it. And then being that thing might completely fill the person up, right? That's great. But for most people, our purpose, it can kind of change or grow or look different as we age, or we take on more experiences and we see things differently. So if you're wondering what your purpose is, know that you're not alone. Okay, I've said that earlier. You're not alone. If you're feeling like, I used to know, but now I don't know, great. It means you're paying attention. You're alive. All humans have had this feeling sometime in their life, even if they knew at one point what their purpose is, okay? So you might know at one point and then it changes. It just means you're changing, you're evolving. I think that's a really good thing, right? It's nothing to be stressed out about when you can't find your purpose. When we're questioning what our purpose is, it means we care, we're awake, we're tuned in, we're feeling life. We want that feeling of contributing and not just phoning it in and being a blob, being a warm body in a chair, right? No one wants to be just a warm body in a chair. Although we have certain values and priorities that, they're kind of ingrained in us, our purpose, it might be a moving target throughout our lives, right? It comes and goes, like, oh, I want that thing. Now I've got that thing. Now I want that thing. It's a moving target. And that can cause us to feel stuck. Like, I thought I got what I wanted. Now I don't want it. That's okay. That feeling of being stuck is normal. Because if you think about it, what you wanted in your 20s, that kind of should be different than what you want in your 40s, right? The underlying purpose might be the same, but how you execute it, that really might change as you mature and see life differently. So expect yourself to change. Expect your purpose to kind of change or look different. But you got to do the work to tune in, to listen, to say, what's wrong? Why do I feel stuck? Got to stop and spend some time with yourself. Yeehaw. Everyone loves that, right? So say, for example, I like to give you guys examples so you can kind of visualize what I'm talking about here. For example, if you're a teacher, I always like to use the examples of teachers or nurses because they're constantly giving, right? You're a teacher. You know your purpose is to teach. That lights you up. You love kind of like leaning into kids and helping them discover who they are. You love that. But you've been a teacher for 20 years, and it's not filling you up like it used to. Now, that doesn't mean you have to automatically jump ship and find a new career. No, it might mean you've changed and you need other things to feed you to help you love teaching again. You got to do teaching differently. You got to find your spark again. Maybe you need to find a new way to connect to them that lights you up. You got to do the work. You can't just say, oh, I'm done teaching. It's not lighting me up anymore. You've got to find out what the problem is. And it's not a problem. It's just a growth. But how do you do that? You got to step off the conveyor belt of your life and examine it before you get back on. You can make big changes. You can make little changes, but you got to stop and do the work. So I'll give you a quick overview of what I feel my purpose is and what it has been in life. Not to be like, oh, let's talk about me. I love me. No, that's terrible. I don't love talking about me. But I want you to see how this works, how you can see how I look at the clues of my life and understand where I'm needed and called at this stage in my life. And that doesn't mean I have the answers, of everything. And that those are the final word. It's just where I feel like I am today. That might be different next week. It's constant work to keep checking in with yourself. And I won't bore you with specific details, but if I were to answer the questions from last week's episode, I would say I'm happiest when I'm connecting with people and I'm empowering them to be proud of who they are. That lights me up. I love meeting people. I love finding how we're all connected. I love sometimes it's awkward, but I'm a really blunt person. I can't keep stuff in. For example, this weekend I was at a football game, and this older guy, he said he was a great grandpa with his kids. He had a plumber shirt on, from a plumbing company. And all of a sudden we started to sing the national anthem, and his voice, you guys, it was beautiful, beautiful opera voice. And I was kind of tearing up, and I turned to him at the end. I was like, I'm sorry, man. I got to tell you, your voice was incredible. That was so beautiful. And put my hand on his shoulder, which I know I don't have social cues. You shouldn't touch strangers, but I do touch strangers. I was just like, I'm so moved by your voice. And he was embarrassed. He was like, wow, well, thank you so much. So that's, I feel called to do that. It's awkward, but that's my calling. And I'm happy when I connect with strangers, and I see the humanity in all of us. I love to do that. So connecting with people. I love learning about their experiences and hearing about people's obstacles and how I might be able to help. I love writing articles to give people new ideas about who they are and what they can do each day to find more contentment. I love being outside in nature and being with friends and family, listening to music, being active and eating healthy foods. I love having a spiritual community. That's a big part of who I am. So all those things include people, but I also really love being alone in silence, thinking deeply, or writing, reading, meditating, or praying, or hugging my dogs and my kids and my husband a little too tightly. It can be really intense. And I'm super deeply emotional. And I also love making people laugh. So I know all those things are those things, that's the answer to question number 1. What makes you happiest? I notice that I'm happiest when most of those things are happening. They don't always happen at once, but that's the big list of categories that I spit out of my head. And the second question, at my funeral, I think people are going to say I love to laugh. And I was really goofy. I just love to laugh. I love to make people laugh. It's just my love language. I gotta have fun. Now, they'll say maybe I wasn't afraid to live life, and if I wanted to do something, I always did it, instead of just talking about it, right? That's good. That's a nice thing. I hope they say that at least. I hope they say that I love to help people, and I also feel their pain deeply, and I would do anything to help anyone. I hope people are going to say I lived simply. I wasn't impressed with money or status or titles. I would talk the same way to a janitor as I would to the president of any company, because you are equal in my eyes. I believe in that 100%. I believe in social justice. I believe in equality. I believe in listening to everybody. I think people would say I wasn't afraid to be myself, and I was open-minded, and I nudged everyone to be themselves. That's how I lived my life. Hopefully, right? Hopefully that's what they'll say. And for the last question that asked, is there a part of you you don't let others see? I really didn't have a big answer for that. I tend to be someone who shares ideas as soon as I have them. So I'm really not hiding anything that I haven't told people about. But as I was doing the show notes, my brain was like, hold on, there's a little something. There's a little something back here you're forgetting about. And really, it's this new idea to me. It's putting my focus on being a coach for caregivers, being a helper for the helpers. I have this vision, it's kind of coming into focus lately, of supporting the greater Dayton area by going into hospitals, schools, police stations, anywhere, and giving caregivers the outlet they need to avoid burnout by coaching them to make sure their lives are balanced before they pour out their energy to serving others, right? We need more helpers in this world, and I'm not equipped to be a nurse, a doctor, a police officer. That's not where my strengths lie, but my strengths lie in supporting those people and empowering them. So that's my next big vision I haven't really told people about, but maybe I need to tap into that more now that I sat to figure that out. Okay, so enough about me. Do that for yourself. Answer those questions, and then you ask yourself, what do I do with these tidbits of information now? They're kind of random. Does that automatically tell me what my purpose is? Nope, it doesn't, not at all. But you have to start there because there's some really important information to help you figure out who you are and what you need to do to feel like you're running on all cylinders, right? That's the important part of this. You got to run on all cylinders. Who are you? And let's tap into that beautiful version of you. Now, looking at my list that I rattled off to you, it seems like I would need a life that's kind of full of people, right? And serving them, and I need laughter, I need fun, I need joy. It seems like I should also have music and nature in there a lot, and then maybe some meaningful moments of quiet and intentional time with family and pets. It seems like my life should include a variety of people from all walks of life, right? To make me most happy and to pull my best qualities out. So I know from this information I'm not going to be happy as an accountant in a cubicle, not talking to anyone anytime. So that's good information. And if I use that as a measurement tool of all the things I listed, I'd say, yeah, I'm kind of on the right track with feeling my purpose is to be a writer, a speaker, and a life coach. And it might be harder to condense all these ideas down into one shiny purpose, but I could say my purpose is to serve others by being my best authentic self to give them permission to do the same. Now that might be what you call the headline. That's the headline of my life. But the how I do that is going to include lots of laughter, goofiness, and enjoying music, nature, fitness, animals, friends, and family. I would say all these things can be included in my purpose, but not all my days are going to tap into the shiny headline, right? Not every day is going to be about connecting with humanity and solving problems and being a life coach. Not every day is going to do that, right? In fact, if every day were about serving others and not tapping into other things that light me up, my purpose would probably start to feel like suffocated because the other supporting parts of it are being ignored, right? Does that make sense? So what's your headline? What's your headline? What do you think you're meant to do? And then what kind of supporting roles support that headline? So mine is to help others, to help them empower themselves. But I also need quiet time. I need to write. I need to be with my friends and family. I need music. So what's your headline? Think of that today. What's my headline? And what are my supporting factors to support that headline? Now this exercise, it gives you a really rough guideline. Again, I'm not saying this is it, you're done, you found your purpose, now put some action to it. It's a good starting point, and it's a starting point you can't skip. Okay, it's hard, it's annoying to sit and do this work, but it's really going to benefit you if you take the time. It's going to give you a rough guideline, a roadmap of what you need. It's eye-opening, but you do have to slow down and check in with yourself. I've had jobs where I feel, man, this doesn't feel right? I just felt it in my gut. And I didn't have the tools back then to realize it, but I know now it's because my purpose was not being ignited and my gut spoke up. I was like, this is not helping people. You're not being yourself. That's another good clue to think about. Am I being myself at this job? Am I being myself in this relationship? If you're changing or acting smaller or different, smaller, I don't mean literally smaller, but I mean like you're kind of dimming your light. You're being quiet in the meetings because you've been told you're too much. If you can't be yourself, then you're probably in the wrong spot. Your gut is telling you that. Here's an example how I kind of stumbled upon what my purpose wasn't when I was in my 20s. I was a radio DJ in Chicago for 3 years. That was my dream job. I went to Ohio University for broadcasting. I loved it. I was like, radio, yes, radio. But I was in love with like talk radio and old school radio and just radio that kind of stopped existing in the 90s. So I became a radio DJ in Chicago 3 years. I was alone in a radio studio for like 5 hours every night. It was so boring, you guys. It was so boring. The dream I had in my head was not reality. I was so disappointed. I wanted to love it, but I knew in my heart I didn't love it. And it gave me the quiet time between songs. I mean, you got 5 hours to yourself to really tap into wondering why I didn't love it. And it was because I needed people. The only time I felt alive at that job was when listeners called in. Nurses called in. They said, hey, thanks so much for keeping us awake tonight. I did the overnight shift. Thanks for keeping us awake. You know, we're really tired, but you're really helping us. And I got lit up. I was like, yes, I'm helping someone. So that was a clue. I'm like, I think I like helping people. And sitting in the studio is boring. I want to see those people face to face. I want to help them a little bit more than just playing music and pushing buttons. So I knew I needed to change. And here's a funny thing I thought of this morning. The fact that nurses called in and I wanted so badly to support them, that is a very small clue when I was in my 20s that I remember now that I'm in my 40s. Building upon this purpose of helping nurses. When I was a teenager, I had a serious surgery. I was at the Cleveland Clinic. I loved the nurses I had there, and I always thought, I should be a nurse. And I was a candy striper for a while. We don't have those anymore, but I was a candy striper in high school. I was like, oh, heck no. I cannot stand the sight of anything. I can't even pull my own kids' teeth. Like, no, nursing is not for me. But this idea of supporting nurses and people who serve others, that's a common thread I would have missed if I haven't been paying attention to my life. So talking to those nurses as a radio DJ, that's another breadcrumb on the trail to my bigger purpose. So my point is, again, I don't want to talk too much about me. I know I am, but think about your life. Think about it. These small little moments, you guys, turn out to be the big moments of, aha, I see the trail of breadcrumbs now. They were little, but now it makes sense. It's adding up. So look for those puzzle pieces. So back then I changed course. I knew, nope, being a radio DJ is not for me. No. So I went to grad school. I became an English professor for several years. I loved it. That career kind of morphed into now being a journalist. I'm a writer and I'm a life coach. It morphed organically because I kept listening. Okay, now what? I like teaching. I want to do more of doing and connecting. So I could still be in that radio station, right? Forcing myself to like something I had such high hopes for, saying, you went to college for this, suck it up, you got to stay here. I could have just stayed there and been miserable. But instead, I did the hard work of turning the ship around, right? And again, that doesn't mean you have to turn your ship around. Doing work to be self-aware doesn't mean your life has to get flipped upside down. You don't have to make crazy changes, but you do have to slow down and listen. So as we move a bit further in this episode today, remember these things. They're pretty important. Number one, your purpose can change, and you got to know that that's okay. It's gorgeous. It's wonderful. Number two, you can have several purposes in your life. Lovely. Number three, you need to do the daily work to slowly figure out what your purpose or purposes are. And number four, your purpose is not always your career. That's okay. No problem. The last one is what we'll be talking about today. It's number 5. Only talking about your purpose doesn't bring your purpose to life. You have to take action. I know, sorry, but that's the point of coaching, action. So how do you take action, right? It's the most challenging part because it feels good to just chat about it, right? Have a nice little heart-to-heart talk over coffee about your purpose and figure some things out. But the actual doing something with that knowledge, that's kind of terrifying at times, right? It can feel overwhelming and uncomfortable. But discomfort is where growth happens. That's too bad, but it's the truth. The action you take to bring your life's purpose into focus, it doesn't have to be huge, right? No big actions have to take place. It can be a few little tweaks here and there. I'm going to give you a few examples in a moment here to illustrate this idea so you can also visualize that. Like, okay, what can I do that's not so big? Now, if we can break down this bigger, overwhelming task of finding your purpose, right? That just feels so overwhelming. I got to find my purpose and live a life of my purpose. Break that down instead into the smaller task of looking at each day with curiosity and objectivity. So say to yourself, I'm not going to worry about what my purpose is, but today I'm going to look at this day with curiosity and objectivity. If you do that, you're going to turn into a self-aware person who doesn't get swept up by it all. To me, that's the real goal here. If you can take each day and live it more slowly and look more closely at what you're doing and what you want, man, you're gonna dig in deeper. And then finding your purpose, that's just something that's going to organically come to you when you're living your life in a way that's intentional, you're aware, you're curious, you're accountable, and you're kind of willing to try new things. If you're doing that each day, let me tell you, you're going to find your purpose. It's going to come to you because you're open to it without even realizing it. So last week I wanted you to think about those answers. This week, I want to challenge you, after answering those questions, to now find ways to take action. This week, you're going to take action toward infusing your life with more of your purpose. The idea is, again, not to make rash decisions. Don't run off and quit your job. You don't have to do that. But start finding small ways to make your life feel more like your own. Think about it. When you're stuck, you feel like your life doesn't feel like it's yours, right? So my goal for you is to start finding ways to make your life feel like it's your own again. Maybe you're in a job where you feel okay about what you do, but you're not on fire for it. We might all be in that situation sometimes. So what can you do this week to plant small things to look forward to in your day? Here's some examples I thought about to help you visualize this. Maybe you sit at a desk all day, but you really love nature. So maybe going for a walk at lunch is going to help give you energy. Maybe doing that every day is going to help change your mindset and you'll start to enjoy your life more. If you love being with people, but you work at a job where you see no one all day, maybe you can start doing research into jobs within your company for positions where you see people in person every day. Do a little research. Maybe you're retired. I've just spoke to someone who had this feeling. You're retired and you're feeling now that you're not working, like you have no purpose. Maybe you felt my job was my purpose. So you got to work on your mindset. Maybe this week you can find a group where your knowledge and your experience would be appreciated. You kind of pour into the next generation and share your life experience with them. If you're missing people at work, maybe you can do some research into different groups where you do something every week together so you get into that rhythm of seeing people and enjoying life. The same effort and purpose you put into work, that can be put into people and life. You don't need a job to activate your purpose. We're so quick to kind of attach it to our jobs that it's harder to see our purpose be put to work in everyday life. We feel good about when we go to work, okay, I did something at work. There it is. Nope. You don't have to have a job to see your purpose. You can see it in your hobbies and your relationships, how you serve others. It doesn't have to be at your job. We all bring value to life, right? We all bring value to life, but sometimes we just need a reminder of this and fresh eyes to see it again. So challenge yourself to get those fresh eyes this week to say, oh, I see it now, or I see something different. See how you bring value to life. So look at your list that you did from last week, and like I did, I shared my list with you. See what common themes emerge. Rather than worrying about what your purpose is, you can look at it this way. It might be a little more easy to see it. Rather than saying, what is my purpose? You say, how can I bring more of myself to the world today? That might sound a little woo-woo, a little hippie and granola-y. But think about it. There's only one you. How can you bring more of yourself to the world today? We love it. We love that you're here. Show us who you are. Even if your job is not your dream job, you can bring more of yourself to it, right? If you don't have a job, how can you serve others as yourself more? Where do you feel pulled or nudged or called to serve? Listen to that voice. As you start to look for ways to take action, you might find, hey, I'm actually on the right path. But you forgot about some things that light you up, that help contribute to overall contentment. Sometimes you might find you really are in the wrong profession, and maybe it's time to start looking into that job you've secretly wanted for years. Or it might mean you want to grow more confidence to build better relationships that have nothing to do with your job. Or you need to find more time for your friends and family. And figuring out your purpose and how you add value to life, man, that is such a personal, daily question. I can't tell you the answer, right? And no one can tell you the answer. Nor should anyone tell you the answer. That's going to get you in a heap of trouble too if someone tells you what you should be doing. No, you know what's going to fulfill you. And in fact, you already know it, right? You already feel it. You just got to sit with it and listen. So now it's time to put action with that knowledge. Okay? You got to do it. You can't just talk about it. A lovely thing happens when you start to take action. You can start off being like, I don't know what to do with this thing. I don't know. You can sit there and say, I don't know, or you can take one step. And then the next step is revealed that you would have never seen if you didn't take that first step. It has happened to me my entire life. Again, in my 20s, I knew I loved radio. I loved serving nurses. I loved being with people. Random information that didn't make sense. But now in my 40s, I'm not in radio, but I'm doing my own podcast. I'm using broadcasting as a way to connect with people because I wasn't connecting as a radio DJ, but now I'm connecting with people. I'm serving others. I'm taking the purpose that is still there, but it has evolved because I've done the work to listen and see what would light me up now. So again, take that step and the next step is revealed. It's a beautiful thing that cannot and it will not happen if you just sit back and think about it. You got to do something. And let yourself be okay with not knowing what all the answers are. I think so many times we're like, I don't know what this is going to lead to. Great. Who knows? Go for the great ride and see where it goes. Listen to what you already know and take action. Isn't that great? You already know. You have a good idea of where you might want to go. Tap into it. Take the step. Take action and see where it goes. Okay. As usual, I got to do this to you. I'd love for you to sit in silence for 10 minutes right now. Jot down everything that's in your head. If you didn't do the work from last week, just hurry up and write down what makes me happy. What will my friends say about me at my funeral? What am I hiding that I want people to know? And then what's your action plan for this week? What's one little thing that could be lit up a bit more? This is your life, and it would be a tragedy to not live it as your own. What do you need to do to show us who you are and to share your gifts with us? Please think about it. Write for 10 minutes, set a timer. Do not edit yourself. Don't say this is stupid, this is dumb. Nope, do it. Nobody's ever going to read it. Let that out. You'll be surprised what your heart, your soul, and your gut spits out on the computer screen. That sounds gross, what your guts are going to spit out on the computer screen. But my point is, you don't know really what you're thinking until you start writing it out. You're going to find some gems in there. Thank you so much for listening. I can't tell you how much I appreciate this. I really hope this episode gives you a good springboard into figuring out how you're wired and what's next for you to dig deeper into life. You can't forget, you got to keep doing the work, especially when you feel stuck. We all feel stuck sometimes. And that just means it's time to do the work again to see what's needed now. We all have been there. You know who you are and what you need, but you need to slow down, listen to it, and take action. Make it a great week. You are awesome.